news topic that we want to really discuss is basically people's rights being stripped away. And so, truck drivers no longer being able to renew their licenses, no longer be able to apply for them. Why? What's this administration doing? How does that affect people's lives? And we're seeing this across the board, not just truck drivers, but that's the latest event that happened. And it's also, we're seeing that with students, we're seeing that with green card holders. And so that's the thing that we want to focus. Do you have any relatives that are truck drivers?
No, but one of my friends actually texted me the story because her husband is a truck driver in Texas. So he's a green card holder, and she was, of course, concerned because their whole business and their family relies on this. So I think a lot of people are really scared. There's a lot of confusion out there, and people want to know what's going on.
Right. My uncle is a truck driver, and my wife's uncle also a truck driver. Now, citizens and green card holders, they're still safe. They'll keep their license for now, right? I think that's the big trend that we're seeing. Everybody's rights is being stripped away, right? Right now, you're a green card holder, it's fine. But last week's live, we talked about if you're a green card holder, you can no longer apply for SBA loan. And a lot of these truck drivers, they're independent little company. They're solo practitioners, they have their LLCs. Now they're not able to get an SBA loan. If something breaks down with their trucks are really expensive. The tires are thousands and thousands of dollars just to replace and just to maintain. People who don't have green cards, people who are on DACA, people who are on TPS, people who are on asylum, they can't renew their truck driving license. It seems so almost arbitrary.
And it seems like this almost happened overnight. Like there was no warning. People weren't able to prepare. So all of a sudden you just have to pretty much stop working overnight.
Right. And what's next? People who are, what's the point of having a work permit if they're not able to work, right? And why truck driving, right? I mean, you almost think truck driving, you almost think, going to the farm, you're almost thinking these critical infrastructure, they need the most work permits. Like when COVID happened, like nurses, teachers, a lot of people who work in the federal building, people who are in the grocery stores, they were the frontline defense. Truck drivers moving everything around when there's a huge shortage on everything. Why take away their work permits? That's the part that is kind of bizarre, but we're seeing it happen. One prediction a lot of the attorneys are talking about is maybe everything that's happening in the past year and now is because of the AI boom. And you say, how is that connected? Because of what AI is able to do, because of what ChatGPT, Gemini, OpenCloud is able to do, a lot of the first-year associates, a lot of the college graduates, their first jobs, a lot of those tasks and duties can be done by AI. And so now U.S. citizens can no longer get those jobs. And so there's a huge market shrinkage. You think truck drivers, AI can't solve truck driving, but autonomous trucks have been in the works for years. Uber was trying to push it out. A lot of other companies are trying to push it out. And once that does happen, 70% of freight transportation in the U.S. are all by truck drivers. Huge amount of them will be out of jobs. And so is it because the new technology is coming, so to save U.S. citizens and green card holders, then they don't allow other people to get it? We don't know. There's no official guidance on to why government is doing what they're doing. It seems out of the blue. Maybe it's calculated, maybe it's not. We really don't know until things happen.
At least partially, it was because of safety reasons. I guess, in your opinion, do you think it's a matter of safety, or do you think this is more so about immigration enforcement?
I have a hard time believing what I'm reading. Their official response is that, okay, a few truck drivers caused these deaths, and that's horrific. Yeah. Everyone's sad about it. But is the right response to that to say, okay, then the entire class of people, all of you can't renew your license anymore? That just doesn't make sense.
Right.
It's like you target one minority, you target one age group, you target sexual orientation. We know we don't want to extrapolate. We know that justice is not served when you do that, right? When one person does something wrong, you say the entire group. That's fundamentally wrong for society, but that's what we're doing now. Maybe it's also because they're trying to save jobs, and maybe that's even a better way to look at it. But either way, this is happening, and it's been happening. Student visas, thousands of student visas got canceled just because of the administration decision. And what's worse is that the rhetoric is actually the same. When J.D. Vance, when Marco Rubio, when they're talking about these things happening, taking away their work permits, taking away green cards, taking away visas. The language is actually the same.
Laura, a green card holder, even if I might like that green card holder, doesn't have an indefinite right to be in the United States of America, right? American citizens have different rights from people who have green cards, from people who have student visas.
Right. So when we're watching it, it's like the State Department can't decide if somebody has a visa to come into the country. It's by our pleasure that they can come in. We don't have to let them come in. And if they're not being a student, then we can cancel it. Well, they say the same thing about green card holders. If you are a green card holder, JD Vance is saying that doesn't mean you could live here permanently forever. What do you think lawful permanent resident means? It means you are able to lawfully live here permanently and you can have a pathway to become a citizen. But they're almost saying it as if it's by our own pleasure you can stay. And if we change our mind, we don't want you to be here, then we can take away all your green card. That's not democracy. That's not a rule-based society. That's monarchy. That's just whatever the government wants to do. And that's not right and that's not fair. And US has some history of that, and it's painfully regretful, and history will look down upon us.
Do you think that just American people should be concerned in general? Because some people might be like, well, I'm not a truck driver. But how do you think, like, given that there's already like a truck shortage, how do you think it'll impact everyone essentially?
Here's what I don't like. I don't like the economic arguments of it all. And maybe people want to be practical, and that's fine. But if the only reason you care about this is because your grocery prices are going to be a little bit more expensive, like we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people losing their jobs, losing their company, losing their ability to provide for their family. And now because of a few incidents, the entire group of these people all are having their livelihood taken away. And if the only reason you care about that is because, oh no, now we have a shortage of truck drivers, so that prices are going to go up, so I have to pay $1.29 instead of $1.15 for my banana or for my apple, that is not a good look for America. But all the news articles are talking about it as if that's the only, the economic argument is like the only thing people should care about. I think it's a fundamental moral justice issue, right? It is not a good look for a country that prides itself on the rule of law. If we want to spread democracy, if we want our nation to be a nation of fairness, to be righteous, to make sense, people weren't just granted a work permit. And this work permit, you're not just getting food stamps and easy jobs. People had to apply and qualify with USCIS to get this work permit. And with this work permit, they have to pay for it to apply for it. They go through background checks, and after getting it, they have to invest their own money to build up this own livelihood. This whole thing just rubs me the wrong way. And the saddest thing about all of it is that it is now a pattern and is only getting worse. Green card holders are being treated like visa holders. Visa holders are being treated like undocumented citizens. Undocumented citizens are treated like they're criminals. Citizens are being asked, are you sworn or are you born here? And if you're only sworn citizen, you might be a second-tier citizen. The rule of law becomes much more of a whoever's in power, gets to decide. This is not a good path that we're on. And I hope most people can wake up and realize the severity of the situation that we're in